Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about today's video. Have you ever looked at a magnesium product formula and thought this should work, but somehow it ends up like sticky, draggy, sometimes cloudy, separated, or just plain unpleasant on the skin? That's the problem. A lot of magnesium formulas fail not because magnesium is bad, but because people keep forcing it into the wrong format. And here's the consequence. When the format is wrong, the product feels awful. It performs poorly, it wastes materials, and it makes you think magnesium is the issue when it really isn't. You can keep throwing polymers, emulsifiers, and random extras at it, but if the structure itself doesn't make sense, the formula is already fighting itself. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the smarter way to formulate magnesium by using a format that actually respects the chemistry. We're making a magnesium recovery biphase concentrate that gives you the magnesium phase that you want, plus the slip and elegance that most of these products are missing. A lot of magnesium formulas go wrong before the making even starts. People decide what they want the product to look like first, and then they try to force magnesium into that format, whether it fits or not. That's a mistake. Magnesium chloride is not one of those ingredients that behaves nicely in every kind of formula. It brings a heavy electrolyte load, and that changes what the system can handle. But instead of building around that reality, people keep trying to make magnesium act like a regular gel, a regular lotion, or a regular serum. They keep trying to fix the problem with more ingredients when the real problem is that the format was wrong from the beginning. And when the format is wrong, everything after that gets harder. That is when you end up with formulas that look cloudy, they separate the wrong way, they feel sticky, they drag on the skin, or they just feel disappointing when you actually use them. Then people start adding more and more things, hoping one extra ingredient is going to save the formula. But all that usually does is make the formula more complicated, more expensive, and more frustrating to troubleshoot. That wastes materials, wastes bench time, and makes people blame magnesium when the real failure was the formula design. So instead of fighting magnesium, we are going to choose a format that actually makes sense for it. This formula is a magnesium recovery biphase concentrate. And the reason that matters is because each phase has its own job. The magnesium-rich phase carries the magnesium and the water-soluble support ingredients. The second phase improves slip, spread, and overall skin feel, so the product feels more elegant during use. So rather than forcing magnesium into a structure that works against it, we are going to build a system that works with it. And that is exactly what I'm going to show you in this formula. So now that you understand why so magnesium products go wrong, the next step is to stop trying to fix magnesium with the wrong structure and start building around what the ingredient actually needs. That's the whole purpose of this formula. We're not making a fake gel and we're not forcing this into a conventional lotion just because that looks really pretty on paper. We're just using a biphase system on purpose because it gives the magnesium-rich phase room to do its job, while the second phase improves the slip, spread, and overall skin feel. So let's move over to the bench and I'll show you exactly how this magnesium recovery biphase concentrate comes together. Okay, let's begin making our magnesium recovery biphase concentrate. And this formula is built very intentionally, like I've mentioned. It's not trying to hide what magnesium chloride is. It's just using a format that makes sense for a high magnesium body product while also improving the way that the product feels during application. We have two different phases here, and each one has a separate job. The bottom phase is the magnesium recovery phase, and that's where the magnesium chloride lives along with the water-soluble ingredients. Then we have the top phase, which is the dry slip recovery phase. That's the part that improves the spread, the glide, and the overall elegance of the product on the skin. And that's the whole point of this formula. One phase gives you the magnesium-rich body phase, and the other phase gives you the cosmetic payoff that makes the product nicer to use. So We're going to start with our distilled water as we always do. Water is the main solvent in this phase, and in this formula, it's carrying the magnesium chloride and all of the other water-compatible support ingredients. This is the functional body of the magnesium phase, so this is where we want to keep things clean, simple, and honest. We are going to pop this on top of our hot plate right now to bring that temperature up just a little bit because we have quite a bit of magnesium chloride that we need to dissolve. Let's pull this off of our hot plate and we can start dissolving the magnesium chloride next. This is the core of the formula, and this is the reason why this product even exists in this format. We're not trying to force magnesium chloride into a gel network or even a conventional lotion structure. We're letting it stay in the water-rich phase where it actually makes sense. So let's go ahead and start adding this slowly, and we're going to mix it until it's fully dissolved. All right, I can see that all of the magnesium flakes have dissolved fully, but once again, I want this to be crystal clear. So I'm going to let this sit here for a good 20 minutes or so. Now that we have a clear solution, we can go ahead and move on to our next ingredients. So our next one is going to be methylpropanediol. And in this formula, the methylpropanediol helps support the feel of the water phase. It also functions as a solvent and a humectant. But the real reason it's here is because it helps make the magnesium feel less plain and less rough when you use it. You can get this at My Skin Recipes. I'm going to put this on top of my scale and just weigh out the amount that I need. This is the only ingredient that I did not weigh out prior to beginning. Give a nice stir after every addition. Our next ingredient is methylgluceth 10, and this is here for low-tack humectancy. I didn't want to lean on a heavy, sticky humectant profile in this formula because that would work against the sensory feel afterwards, and that's our goal, right? So the methylgluceth 10 helps support the skin feel without dragging the formula too far into a sticky direction. You can also get this at Making Cosmetics. Next is ethoxydiglycol. This is functioning as a co-solvent, and it's a feel refining ingredient in the water phase. It helps polish the application experience so the magnesium phase doesn't feel like just plain brine in a bottle. Ethoxydiglycol, you can get this at Making Cosmetics or Formulator Sample Shop. Dimethyl isosorbide. This is one of the more advanced ingredients in the formula. It's here because it's acting as a smart co-solvent and carrier support ingredient. Don't be afraid to use this, you guys. If you hear people like being all scared to use this, don't be afraid to use this. It's fine. It helps elevate the formula beyond a very basic magnesium product, and it contributes to a more sophisticated finished feel. Next is panthenol, and this is a skin conditioning support ingredient. It's not the star of the show, but it adds a little extra skin-friendly support to the magnesium phase without complicating the formula structure. If you don't have the liquid and all you have is the powder, you're going to be using just a lot less because the powder is more concentrated. And finally, we're going to be adding our liquid Germal Plus. This is the preservative for the water phase. Since this formula has a substantial aqueous phase, preservation matters. This was chosen to keep the lower phase clean looking and more visually appropriate for this style of product. Always make sure that you are adding this when your temperatures are cool enough to do so. Always just double check. At this point, phase A should be fully mixed and clear to slightly translucent and uniform. I am, however, going to be adding some FDC liquid dye because I do want a distinction between my two layers. I don't just want a clear bottom and then my top layer. I want an actual distinction because this is a biphase product. So very sparingly, I'm going to add just a couple of drops of my water-soluble liquid dye. And that's enough for me, 2 drops. That's more than enough, actually. 1 drop would have been sufficient, but this is actually a really, really nice pink color. So that's it. Phase A, we're done. We're going to set this aside. And then we're going to move into phase B, which is your dry slip recovery phase. All right, phase A. You're going to go over there. Let's work on phase B now. So this is the phase that transforms the user experience from plain magnesium water into something more elegant and more like a body treatment oriented. So we're going to start with it's called Lex Feel Wow. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the inky on this. You can get this at Dolphin Organics. They sell it as BioSilk Wow. It used to be sold as Lex Feel Wow, but they now sell it as BioSilk Wow, but Dolphin Organics, and I'll put the inky down below. So we're going to start with that. So this is one of the main dry touch emollients in the formula. It's going to help create that lighter, more elegant, less greasy payoff that makes the product feel more modern and more intentional on the skin. Next is dicaprylyl carbonate, and you can get this at Formulator Sample Shop. This is a fast spreading ester that helps the top phase glide across the skin more easily. It improves the spread, and it gives the formula a lighter, less heavy feel. Then we're going to be adding some marula tetradecane. You can get this also at Making Cosmetics. And this is one of the more unusual ingredients in the formula. It's part of what makes this feel more of an advanced formula. It's a lightweight emollient that helps give the top phase a more refined, elegant, almost silky skin finish. Next is cyclopentasiloxane, and you can get this at BKB Trading, CDF Supplies in Canada, or Jedwards. And this adds volatile glide and spreadability. It helps the top phase move beautifully over the skin, and then it gets out of the way, which is exactly what we want in a product like this. So we already have Lex Feel Wow. The next ingredient is Lex Feel Natural. Again, I think this is called heptyl undecillinate. I don't know. The inky is down below. You can get this also at Dolphin Organics. This is going to give an additional dry touch refinement to the slip phase. It's not here in a huge amount, but it does help fine tune the overall sensory profile. Then we add polyglycerol 4-oleate, and this is important. This isn't just here to turn the formula into a permanent emulsion. It's here to help the product form a more elegant temporary dispersion when shaken. That means the product can mix together more nicely during use, but still return to its intentionally biphase state when it rests. And you can get this at CDF Supplies in Canada, Soap and More in Canada, or if you're in the UK, you can get it at Soapmakers-Store. I have not been able to source this here in the US. If you have a source for this, please leave it down below in the comments section. Because right now, I don't even know. There's a lot of suppliers that aren't even shipping to the US. It's just too expensive. And finally, we're going to be adding some vitamin E. This supports the oil phase and rounds out the formula. It's a finishing ingredient here, not the main event. At this point, phase B should be fully uniform, lightweight, and smooth. So now it's going to be time to build that final product. All right, so we have our 2 different phases. I'm going to go ahead and use a dropper bottle today because that way I can control how much I want to put in the palm of my hand before I go ahead and apply it. So both of our phases are ready to go. What we're going to do is put phase A into the bottle first, and then we're going to carefully layer on phase B on the top. So phase A. Actually, let me be smart about this. Here we go. I'm going to use my little funnel. I'm just going to kind of eyeball because again, I don't sell products. If you do and you make this, put it on top of your scale and weigh out each phase individually. That's about good right there. Once we do start adding the next phase, what you should see is a clearly separated bi-phase product, okay? That means you did everything correctly. That's not a failure. That's, the formula doing exactly what we designed it to do. So let's go ahead and put phase B on top of phase A. It's going to be hard for you to see, and of course, because I just filled it, let me try to put it there. You can clearly see the two separate layers. It's going to get way more defined than this the longer that it sits. But I am going to um, go ahead and put my dropper in now. I'll give you guys another look at what it looks like with the two separate phases. You can't really see it all that well on camera. We really kind of need a side-by-side shot, which I will give you. I'm going to leave these sit overnight, and then I'll come back tomorrow and I'll give you a side look so that you can clearly see that there are two completely separate phases. So now, though, when you shake it, the product should temporarily disperse into a cloudy, unified look, right? And then when it sits, it should gradually separate back into two clean phases. That's the whole design. So let's go ahead and shake that. And now you can see it's like one phase now. Everything has mixed completely. So what makes this formula smarter is that it stops asking one phase to do everything. The magnesium rich phase carries the magnesium and the water compatible support ingredients. The slip phase improves spread, glide, massage time, and overall elegance. And because those jobs are separated, the formula makes more sense structurally and sensorially than trying to force the magnesium into a format that fights it. We're just going to go ahead and leave this overnight. I'll bring you guys back tomorrow. You'll see those phases separate again. Take a look at the finished bottles here today. Of course, this is empty, but I'm going to fill that in just a second so you guys can see from a side view what it should look like when you're first starting to pour it. But I did pour these two bottles, shook them up, and then left them overnight. I did watch them for roughly about 10 minutes, and that's when they started to re-separate. But you can clearly see that these are two distinctive, separate phases. And in a second, I will shake this up. But this is what we're looking for. This is what a biphase should look like. But let's just go ahead and fill this one up on camera from the side view so you guys can see what this looks like. So again, we're going to start with our water phase on the bottom. A little bit more. Okay. And now we're going to layer in that top phase B. Now you're not going to have distinct separate layers when you first pour it in, like you see here. It is going to be cloudy and a little bit muddled because we just poured it into each other. So it is starting to mix up just a little bit. You're not going to have that definition of two distinct separate phases. But I just wanted to show you guys what it should look like. Let's go ahead and put our dropper in. So I'm going to leave that the way that it is. This is what it's going to look like right after you pour it. That's what it's going to look like after you shake it up when you're getting ready to use it. Then once you're done using it and you put your cap back on, this is what it's going to look like after it starts to re-separate. So I just wanted you guys to see that on camera. So let's put these off to the side for just a second and we will do a little demo So obviously, again, you're going to shake it up, put a small little amount in your hand or on your fingertips. Like in my case, I use this for my wrists and my fingers because I'm getting older and I have arthritis. So we're just going to go ahead and rub this in. I like to use this on the hands and the fingers rather than using the cream because that just feels a little bit too heavy for my hands. And this works just a little bit better. It spreads more easily. It feels a little bit more intentional on my skin and gives me a nicer application experience. So as I work it in, you can see that the finish stays lightweight and comfortable. Like I'm not greasy at all. But I rub it in like to my knuckle areas, all into my joints really, really well. And again, this is going to take roughly about 10 minutes before it starts to um, reseparate again to the point where you can see the true biphase product. So what we've learned here today is that magnesium is not the problem. The format is. When makers keep forcing magnesium into structures that fight heavy electrolyte systems, that's when the formula starts becoming sticky, unstable, draggy, or just plain unpleasant to use. But when you step back and build the product around what magnesium actually needs, the whole formula starts making more sense. That's exactly what this Magnesium Recovery Bi-Phase Concentrate does. It gives a magnesium-rich phase room to do its job, while the second phase improves the slip, spread, and the overall skin feel. And that's the biggest lesson. Better formulation is not about adding more random ingredients. It's about choosing the right structure from the start. If you've ever struggled with magnesium products that felt bad, looked bad, or just never came together the way that you hoped, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you'd like the full written formula with procedures, it's available at the Formulator Friend advanced tier level up on my Patreon. If you want more chemistry-based problem-first formulation content just like this one, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. I'll see you in the next formulation. If you're a YouTube channel member, the written formula and instructions are waiting for you in the description box. If you're not a member, you can also get this formula along with more than 100 others and all future releases by joining my Patreon, or you can pick it up individually in my Etsy shop. All the links are below. Choose what's right for you.